Our barbell front squats are a great strength exercise for the quads. They also work a lot of the postural muscles in that upper back and lower back, as well as our core. This is a lot tougher exercise than a normal barbell squat. So be comfortable with a normal barbell squat before progressing up to a front squat here. You're going to want to start light on this exercise. If you do not have access to a barbell, you're welcome to use dumbbells, and you could perform a dumbbell front squat. So go look up our video titled Dumbbell Front Squats if you need to regress down to an easier version for this exercise, or if you do not have access to a barbell wherever you're at. So going over proper form though, when using a barbell, there's two different main grips that are used when performing front squats, and it depends on your flexibility or your range of motion in your shoulders. The tougher but typically more stable version is the one I was just showing in that demonstration video, to where my fingertips are on the barbell with my elbows up nice and high, the barbell resting on the front of my shoulders. If you do not have the flexibility to perform this movement, and what that's going to look like is, instead of being able to keep those elbows up nice and high just like this, while you get down low in that front squat, those elbows are going to drop down to our sides here, and that barbell is going to want to roll forward and put pressure on our wrists. If you find that happening, you may not have the mobility in the shoulders and our lats. Your lats may be extra tight. You may not have that mobility. So you may have to change to the second version in order to perform this exercise. So the second version, which doesn't require as much mobility in our shoulders, but is a little less stable, is where we're going to cross our arms just like this. That barbell is going to rest still right on the shoulders, and we're going to use our fingertips to stabilize that bar. So what that will look like is coming up under the bar, crossing the arms, making sure that bar is in nice and close to the chest so it's resting on the front of the shoulders, and then using the fingertips to stabilize the bar and keep it on those shoulders. So in this position, walking back, again, trying to focus on keeping those elbows high as we get down low in that squat, keeping those elbows up to create that rack and not letting that barbell roll forward off of the shoulders. So again, those are the two different options. The first option I showed you, I definitely recommend starting with to see if you have that mobility, because it is a lot more stable version for this exercise. The second option, like I showed with those arms crossed, is one you can modify or drop down to if you need to. Ideally, we want to develop or create the mobility and range of motion in our shoulders to be able to perform the first version. You can start off by performing the second version if you find you don't have that mobility, but over time, as we work on stretching and strengthening and performing exercises through that full range of motion, we hope to develop that range of motion to progress into that first version. So, for that first version of that exercise, the main one I want you to work towards, if you're not able to right off the bat, we're going to grab that barbell with those fingertips just outside of shoulder width here. We want to make sure that when we get that bar on the shoulders, those hands aren't here where they're getting in the way of the shoulders. They're just going to be just on the outside of our shoulders here. So grab that bar with the fingertips resting just on the outside of the shoulders. We're then going to press that chest up underneath that bar, and as we do, we're going to push those elbows up nice and high, keeping that arm, trying to keep it parallel with the floor. So press on up, rotate those elbows up. The front of that bar should be right in on the front of the shoulders, right in against the neck here. Get in nice and close, elbows nice and high. Bring those feet up underneath of the bar to where you're in that normal squat position in order to lift it off and walk back. We don't want to be in a split squat position here to lift it off. When you have lightweight, it may not seem like much of a big deal in order to do that, but we want to get in the habit now, because when you go heavy on this exercise, we want to make sure we're lifting off in a good squat position, not in a split squat, in order to reduce the risk of injury for this. So come up underneath, get into position here where that bar is on the front of the shoulders. Get those legs or those feet right underneath those hips. Lift on off. Walk back so that you're free of that rack. Get those feet in that normal squat position about hip distance apart. We're going to try to focus on keeping those elbows up nice and high, keeping that back straight and that chest up as we drop down low in that squat, and then drive back on up, squeezing the butt at the top. Again, focusing on keeping those elbows as high as we can throughout this movement. If you find those elbows dropping down, that bar is going to want to roll forward. It's going to put stress on the wrist. So constantly remind yourself to push those elbows up. That's probably going to be one of the hardest parts of this exercise, is getting used to keeping those elbows up, and it really does make this exercise a lot tougher than a normal barbell back squat. You're going to use a lot more postural muscles. You're going to use a lot more core on this exercise. So start lighter than you normally would on a regular back squat or even on a bomb squat to where the bar is resting on the back. Start off much lighter, even with just the bar, especially if you're not used to performing these before. Start off with just the bar. Get into position and work on keeping that good posture. Elbows up, back straight, chest up, nice and low throughout that entire movement. So, going over the second version for this exercise really quick. Come up underneath, cross those arms just like this so that bar's resting on the front of the shoulders. Use those fingertips on the bar to kind of hold it in place so that it's not rolling forward. The rest is the same though. Walk on out, get in that normal squat position, keep the elbows high, keep that chest up, nice and low, coming up, squeezing the glutes at the top as we press forward. When we're performing squats, especially when performing front squats, which puts a lot of pressure on our core, breathing is going to be essential for this movement. What we want to do is at the top of a squat, we want to take a big breath in order to stabilize the core. When we take that big breath in and we hold it, we're creating that pressure in that abdominal cavity, which will stabilize the back, which will reduce our risk of injury. So get in position, walk on back, and before you drop down, take a big breath in, hold it. Get down to the bottom of that squat, and then exhale as you press on up and drive out of the bottom. So again, big breath in, hold it as you come down to the bottom, and as you explode out of the bottom, we're expelling that air from the lungs. We're breathing out as we come back up. Once you get back to the top, reset again. Big breath in, hold it, come down, exhale as you come back up for this exercise. Let your breathing dictate your pace of the exercise, not the other way around. Don't drop right into a squat as soon as you get to the top before you've gotten a full breath in. What this is going to do is you're going to go out of breath very quickly on this exercise. So let your breathing dictate. Only drop into the squat once you've taken a full breath in again. Only expel that or only start back up at the squat once you start to blow your air out. So let your breathing dictate your pace for this movement. This is important on a normal squat, a normal barbell squat, normal back squat as well, but it is extra important when performing front squats where we're really focusing on bracing that core, because that bar being placed forward on the front of the body instead of the back will want to pull you over, and it's going to put a lot more pressure on all those postural muscles of the back. So again, if you're not used to this movement, start off with just the bar or very lightweight. Figure out hand positioning, what is best for you based on your shoulder mobility. If you can, try to get up underneath it just like this. If you can't quite do that, cross those arms, rest that bar on the front of the shoulders, use those fingertips. Make sure those feet are under the bar when you lift it on off, and then keep that good posture throughout that entire movement. And lastly, when you come back and you place that bar back in those J hooks, come all the way in to where you're hitting that rack and leaning against it before dropping down. That way you'll never miss those hooks and you will greatly reduce your risk of injury.